Now, I know that we're personal good friends outside of the Magic Box and everything else. Can you sort of explain to our viewers exactly of how you got started within, actually, as a psychic?
Okay, I've always been psychically aware. I think everybody is when they're young. But when I was 8, I came to the realization that I was going to grow up to be a psychic, whether I wanted to or not. And then when I was a teenager, my mom first tried to get me on a Ouija board, which didn't work out at all. I gave it to my little sister instead. But then she gave me a deck of tarot cards and Eden Gray's book. And using the two of those, I just started doing readings. I started doing readings on my friends. And eventually, when I came into the Detroit area, I became associated with a group of professional channelers. And so we did readings and channeling sessions and that. And then when I came to Canada, I started doing the fairs and eventually opened up a store. And I had a radio show for a while. I did go into retirement for about 10 years, but when they opened up the Magic Box, I came down and taught Gloria, and I've been doing readings out of the Magic Box ever since.
Now, for the radio show that you were just mentioning about quickly, can you indicate sort of whereabouts that radio show was?
Okay, that was Psychic Sundays out of Cambridge, and that was on AM 96, which is no longer around. And it was me and Early Shirley, and we used to bring in guest psychics, and people would call in. And Shirley would just say, Early Shirley would just operate the board. And if anybody said a bad word, he'd press the button.
Okay.
I won't tell you how many times we said bad words.
Probably quite a bit. But, all right, now you were just explaining about channeling.
Yes.
I'm a channeler myself. For the viewers that don't really know, can you explain what channeling is?
Okay, channeling is, it's a form of trance work, but what you do is you put yourself basically in the back seat, where you open yourself up to spirit and you allow spirit to come in and speak through you. It is intense, and you really do need somebody with you to monitor and make sure everything is safe. But it's a really solid way to connect with spirit because you have a very strong...
Welcome to the Queen's Inn Hotel here in Stratford, Ontario. We're here with Sally Diane, and she is going to tell us some of the history and also some of the ghost stories that have been going on at the hotel. So first of all, thank you very much for being here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes. First of all, though, we'll start off by asking you a bit about the history of the hotel. What is the original history of this place?
This place was originally a wood frame building. It started out as a Queen's Arms, and it was built by Robert Johnson, who sold it to a civil engineer named Curry. And Curry bought it in the 1860s, and it was in his family for 2 generations. And then in 1905, when it was still with the Curry family, it burnt to the ground. And at that point in time, it was with the younger Curry, and he was more fashionable, so he built in what's called the neoclassical style. I think that my experiences with the ghosts started almost on day one. Was the one because with the ghost experience, it's not just what happens, but what happens in the air. And it just had that bratty look at me kind of feel to it. And it was in the Pinckney family for 3 generations. There was 2 generations of the David Curry, and there's like a couple different kinds. There's in one room you have the Echo, and that's the guy in the mirror, and that's the one that interacts with the guests the most.
I've heard that story before, that sometimes guests will see a figure in a mirror at night, and even some of them have actually ran out.
I had a couple years ago at 4 in the morning, this young girl went running out of the hotel. It was funny. She asked me, did anybody ever die in the hotel? And never asked me a question, because I'll give you an honest answer. So I said, well, I suppose so, right? And she just kept on walking, said, tell everybody I went for... that's enough for me. On the other side of the hall, that's a real active one and an interactive one. Oh, okay. And that one is, we always call it Mr. Pinckney. Okay. But there's one room where a lot of things happen, and you will not be able to open that door.
Oh, he'll either on the other side or...
the key won't work. So, but I found that all you have to do is back off, because they can't keep it up. There are people who want to have the experience, because I've also had people who have heard the hotel is haunted, who will come and ask specifically, can I please, please, please stay in a haunted room?
Oh, they actually want to have the haunted room.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people do that too. So.
Yes, but like I said, the owner has asked that we not name names on the room.
No problem.
So if you ask me which room is haunted, I will ask you which room you're staying in.
Or you can say the one upstairs.
That's right, absolutely.
Okay, so now with these ghosts though, just sort of diverting from that a little bit, how would you say their energies are? Are they friendly spirits or negative spirits, or?
You know, it really depends on what part of the hotel you're at. Which part of the hotel? Down in the basement, I would say those are really creepy spirits, and there's
aside from
at
your
least 3 of
experiences,
them.
we'll move on now. Has any of the guests that have stayed here had any experiences besides the girls upstairs?
Okay.
With the mirror.
Well, yeah, there's been a few incidences with the mirror. Now, when some of the members of the Pinckney family have come to visit, there's been issues with the suite, their uncle's favorite suite, not opening up. Now, I've heard reports of violin music at certain parts of the hotel. There was, yes, and there was one episode, and this was in a room where I don't normally think that there's activity, but I've always felt like there's something really quiet there. There was one night where there was a very loud band in that room there, and all of a sudden there was a crash so loud that you could hear over the band, and I could hear it in the front room, at the front desk, and I was there, and the fellow that was staying in that room called down. Yeah, well, he was one of the guests, but when he went upstairs, here this big, huge, heavy armoire had been dumped over.
No, really, armoire?
Yeah, and it was heavy. It was loaded with TV and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Don't tip over.
And I don't know what happened in the room the night before, but he instantly, instead of saying the floor is uneven, which is true, he instantly said this place is haunted, and that was done by a ghost.
Okay, maybe he was a bit.
Something happened. Something happened. And I think they come out with basically curiosity. Like we did filming in the Edinburgh Lounge. And as soon as we started filming in the Edinburgh Lounge, you just tell they were standing around. What's going on? What's going on?
Okay, speaking of having people in the Edinburgh Lounge, has there been any other events take place here at the hotel that people can know about?
Well, there are the tours.
Okay.
But
we'll talk about in a minute.
Which we will talk about in a minute, because when I did the tours, it led to the question, is there going to be a seance?
All right.
That's right. So that's when I got hold of Mark from your team. And together we put together a team of real crack team of psychics, and we did a seance, a live seance. That was so cool. And we did come up with quite a few revelations. We came up with, first off, we reached out and tried to, reach into the tunnels that are throughout the city. And oh man, that was chock-a-block full of spirit.
We drew some of those spirits out of the tunnels.
Yes, and then there was the revelation that this place at one point in time was a hospital, kind of like a makeshift hospital. And my guess would be that would have had to been during the flu epidemic.
Ready for the ghost stories portion at the Queen's Inn Hotel in Stratford. So Sally, I'll let you take it away and start the ghost stories. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, and thank you everybody for coming to hear my little stories tonight. I hope I scare you. We have been speaking a while. There are a number of ghosts in this hotel. Never bothered much with the ghosts in the kitchen or the ghosts that haunt the hallway back here. But during the night when I've cut through, you can get that feeling on the back of your neck like someone's watching you. There's also some of the most documented occurrences here in the hotel happen up on the second floor in the rooms that used to be the Pinckney suite, and they had this fabulous suite upstairs, and there's a number of different kinds of hauntings. We actually, when we did the seance here, we did investigations where we set up equipment And in the one room in particular, they set up, I think that there was one out earlier today, something that Mark called a Frankenbox. And apparently that is an instrument that's meant to facilitate. And Mark says that when he walked into the room, the voice in the Frankenbox just said, there's one spot where this big orb comes up and just divides, you know, just kind of look at me, look at me. And so that was fun. That night we also managed to chase one of the newer investigators out of her room. But also on the main floor, which are the ghosts that I've had most contact with, because it was main floor where I was most of the night. My favorite encounter was with the ghost in the dining room, and I had a full-on color apparition of her. I was standing in that lobby, and she came running out of the dining room toward the Boar's Head, and she was in a dark blue Victorian kind of a dress. And so I dropped what I was doing and chased her because the hotel was locked down. Round the corner, she's gone. Absolutely nobody there. But after that, little things would start happening. Like I had to start putting coffee pots. And anytime I brewed coffee, I had to put more pots in front of it. Because otherwise, when I came back, the coffee pot would have been moved and there'd be a flood of coffee on the floor. And then another thing that happened was when I'd cut to the Queen Victoria room, she'd open up the door for me. That was cool. Creepy, but there's a Brews tour where they get a group of people and they go from hotel to hotel and they get a few pictures of beer, some snacks, and some ghost stories at each location. And so, of course, they had me to tell the ghost stories, and I've been telling them ever since. But it was that run-in with the ghost there, and that got around. That I'd seen a lady in blue in the Victorian garb. Well, come to find out, there was a lady named Elsie Deal, and she worked here for many years. She was a dining room manager, and she loved this hotel dearly. She'd lost her family in a fire. And she was a spinster. She needed a place to live, and she needed a way to support herself. And Mr. Pinckney gave her a room and gave her a job, and she lived her days here in the hotel. And so it's natural that she kind of watches over us overnight people and helps us out a little when we go through the dining room. We appreciate it very much, Elsie. Even today when we were over there doing an interview, that one of the guys noticed that the door opened.
Is there one room that sees more activity?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Do you know what that corresponds to in their old apartment, their old suite?
No, but my guess would be that would have been, that probably would have been the living room. Just from the feeling, even when you go into that room and you sit in the seating area today, you feel like you're in an elegant living room. You know, it's almost like you expect to hear crystal and silver and be waited on.
And they were the owners of it?
Yes. For 2 generations. They bought it after it had been rebuilt. And they bought it off of the Currys. And that probably would have been around the time of World War I. Okay. And the Pinckneys ran it for 2 generations. And, you know, and each generation was David Pinckney. So thank you very much for coming, and that's the end of my ghost story.
How was your night? Have you had any experiences while you were here, or what did you think of the whole ghost stories?
Oh, it was pretty interesting, the stories and that. I don't know, I felt when I was sitting there, I felt like pressure sometimes on my shoulders, pushing.
Oh, so you felt someone put their hands on your shoulder or something? Okay.
Yeah, like it felt sometimes in the air a little bit.
Oh, okay. Something actually knocked you a little bit.
Yeah.
Would you come back here on your own sometime?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like spend a night in one of the rooms would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure. How did you feel about it tonight?
It was very interesting. I really enjoy coming out with you guys and enjoy meeting Sally, and I found it very interesting.
We have some tools here that we were demonstrating earlier for you guys that we use on investigations, and you kind of like this one. How did you feel about using this one? Did you have any experiences while you were using the EMF meter?
I noticed that when we were walking around the room, the lights did flicker on and off, and I assume...
These lights right here, these ones will actually jump off if there's high levels of energy around. And that was doing that with you earlier, so that's pretty interesting.
It was. I did feel there was high levels of energy around.
Anything specific, like did you feel any touching or energies around you that was negative or positive? Or?
I didn't feel any touching, but I noticed when we were over there by the couch, when we were putting it by the couch, it was going up, so I assumed maybe there was somebody sitting there, or...
Yeah, there could have been, because that's what that indicates, so thanks very much for that.
Thank you.
Hi. Thanks for joining us tonight. And your name is?
Vicky.
Vicky, hi. How did you feel about the experience with the ghost story?
It was very interesting. You could feel a presence. At least I felt when Sally was telling her story, I could feel something to the left of her and behind.
Okay. That will most likely be her guide that's with her all the time. She talked about that quite regularly, so that's where he is most of the time. How did you feel about the stories and the history of the hotel?
Quite interesting. I never knew any of this, so it was actually quite riveting.
Was it your first time here? Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you come back again by yourself?
Oh, definitely.
Great.
I would love to stay in one of the rooms.